Good morning. I'm going to dive straight in because Norwich City's fixtures for the Championship season should be out now. They face Hull City on the first day of the season, Ipswich Town on the 16th of December, and I'm just waiting for these fixtures to come through. But let me know your reactions in the comments below. Obviously, we are all in this together in terms of this season for Norwich City, but there's confirmation that on the 5th of August they face Hull City at Carrow Road, and they've been due a home game on the first day of the season for a good long while. Obviously, last season kicked off with a long trip to Cardiff City, but this year a little bit more of an easy one for their supporters. Not exactly one of the most headline-grabbing games to start the season, but I'm sure there will be plenty of those throughout the campaign, given the sorts of teams in the league. I'm just trying to get this fixture list up so that I can talk about some of the more interesting fixtures. That Ipswich game does take place in December. So here are the first few fixtures. Hull City at home on Saturday the 5th of August. Southampton away on the 12th the week after. Millwall at home the week after that. Huddersfield Town away on Saturday the 26th of August. And Rotherham United away on Saturday the 2nd of September. So that's the first month or so of Norwich City's Championship season. There are a couple of Carabao Cup rounds in there as well if they do manage to make it through. And their first meeting with Ipswich Town of the season will be at Portman Road. So I'm sure Ipswich will be pleased with that, given the way that momentum is going between the East Anglian clubs at the moment. And I'm sure that's the fixture that most of you were looking out for. The home fixture I'm just trying to find now is on Saturday the 6th of April, so it could actually play quite a huge part in Norwich City's season if they are towards either end of the table come the end of it. And I'm sure they'll hope to be, because obviously promotion is the aim again for Norwich. Their last game of the season is Birmingham City away. Given how they performed last season, that feels like it could be a winnable one when Norwich might need it, but obviously it's so difficult to predict sort of what these fixtures look like just with how the Championship teams are now, because I always think the fixture list when it's released in the second division is actually probably the most difficult to predict, at least when you're in the Premier League, as much as it's quite grim for Norwich City fans seeing some of the teams they'll face and how difficult it's going to be. In the Championship, it's really hard to predict because the way that it is and the unpredictability of the league is such that you don't really know how any team's going to look until there's probably been 15 games played of the season. But it definitely looks like some tough fixtures on paper with the sorts of sides that have come down from the Premier League and up from League One. Plymouth Argyle are pretty early on in the fixture list for Norwich. They've obviously been promoted, and they're 3 days after Leicester City at home, which is two really big clubs actually for Championship standards, Norwich and Leicester, that game. Leeds, again, another huge club in the Championship. Norwich play them at home on Saturday the 21st of October. I'm just looking through these, and there are a lot of tough fixtures in there. Southampton on January the 1st, so a nice New Year's Day clash there. And then Leeds in the same month, so it really could be quite an interesting Championship season. I think based on the clubs that are involved this season compared to last, it does feel like a little bit bigger, and probably there's going to be a lot more attention on the Championship, which I'm not sure comes at the right time for Norwich. Obviously, they're now looking at this rebuild and looking at the players that they're bringing in, and they're going to have to adapt fast because it's going to be a really difficult Championship season, probably harder than last season when Norwich finished 13th. And you think how much they're going to have to raise that bar. And yeah, I think it's on paper right now it looks very difficult for Norwich, but it looked very difficult in the 2018-19 season when there were plenty of teams that were big clubs and that were really good sides, and Norwich managed to pull it out of the bag after one of their worst seasons in recent memory, obviously in the 2017-18 season. So very difficult to predict at this stage. Obviously they've got a pre-season programme where I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about the players that they've got and how that works out, but also worth remembering that in 2009 they were unbeaten throughout their pre-season, some really impressive results, and then lost 7-1 to Colchester on the first day. So I'm not sure how much of a useful barometer those are going to be, but they face Barnet in their first pre-season fixture away from home on July the 4th, and we'll be there covering all of that. I believe they also face King's Lynn. Then in Germany, they'll face Darmstadt and Kaiserslautern, with a Carrow Road fixture against Las Palmas planned as well. A few other fixtures sprinkled in there, but it's going to be your standard pre-season really. None of the sort of local fixtures, no Dereham Town or Galston or anything like that as of yet. So it looks like they're going to be straight into the tough fixtures, and there's a lot of them packed in there. I know there normally is with pre-season, but under David Wagner, given how tough and physical his pre-seasons are famous for being, I think it's going to be a lot of work for his Norwich City players. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And then obviously we're straight into the real action on Saturday, August the 5th at Carrow Road, which I'm looking forward to. I think it's been good to have a break from the travel. I'm sure a lot of the away fans that are tuning into this will agree that as much as enjoyable as it is and as satisfying as those trips can be when they go well, it is a lot of travelling being a Norwich fan and covering Norwich City as a club. So looking at these fixtures always does remind you sort of how difficult those things are going to be. I believe it's Middlesbrough away and what was it? Another tough one. Connor's just messaged me saying about how tough that's going to be. So there's a lot of travelling in there. Just looking for any. Yeah, Swansea and Plymouth either side of the Birmingham home game. So lots of travelling in there, and definitely going to be difficult for supporters. But I think that's the way that it goes as Norwich City fans, unfortunately. So let me know how you're feeling about the season, how you feel about the fixtures, what sort of your reaction is. Are you pleased with Hull City as a home start to the season? I think there's always a lot of feeling that a home fixture would be a good way to start it, because obviously a good start is vitally important, as it is for Norwich this season, given how tense things are around the club and given how much they need to shift the mood and make it positive. Obviously, Stuart Webber's now left the club, which I haven't even mentioned yet. I think it's vitally important that they start well. So hopefully, as much as it's difficult to predict now, those opening 5 fixtures do give Norwich an opportunity to go and make a good start. But I remember we were looking at that last season, looking at Cardiff and Wigan and saying that Norwich had a great start on paper, and we know how that panned out. So it's very difficult to predict the Championship just based on the fixtures, but hopefully now you've got a couple of dates to look forward to. I think Ipswich Town on the 16th of December is definitely one to look out for there, and definitely one to put in the diary. But for now, we'll concentrate on pre-season and transfers. Obviously, Boyer signed. Looks like he's going to sign for Norwich before long. Not absolutely signed, sealed and delivered, but certainly progressing in the right direction. And there's loads more updates like that across our channels. So keep it locked for any of the latest news. And of course, we'll be across Norwich City's pre-season. So subscribe to Pink and Plus now and don't miss any of our coverage across the 2023-24 season. Hopefully it's a little bit more of a cheery read than it was last season, but for only $2.99 a month, it's a pretty good deal, I think. So get that while you can. I think you can go on pinken.com/subscribe to find that, or go to app.pinken.com or download the Pink and Plus app to see what you're missing out on with our app, which is virtually ad-free and a very usable experience. So I'd recommend that. Thank you for tuning in and joining me. Hopefully it's been a good morning for you, and hopefully we're pleased with how the fixtures are. I always think it's just it's quite difficult because they are playing 46 games across various weeks across the season, so quite difficult to react, especially in the Championship when you don't know sort of what teams are going to look like. But hopefully it's a much more positive season for Norwich City, and I'll see you very soon.